Hello, everyone. All right. First things first. No, no, no. Yes, you just saw everybody. At this point, let's just. There we go. There we go. Everyone, here is Tycho, Imaga. Here am I. Welcome to Office Hours, my podcast. I've yet to really nail down like a format or a subject or even anything in general that we discuss. But I love having our guests on here. We talk about the hobby. We talk about like painting, playing, just life. And as I had just like steamrolled through today, we have none other than Tycho Imaga, painter, beard aficionado, and just extraordinary human being. So while you tell the folks a little bit about yourself, Tycho, I'm gonna do the thing that I forgot to do, which is update my stream info, because I'm a goofy goober. Yeah, it's like an absolute like the fact that me starting in the hobby, as I've mentioned over and over to chat, and I know I've mentioned it to you before, but folks, if you didn't know, Playon Tabletop's video on how to play 9th edition 40k is literally the reason I'm here now. That I was like so intimidated by the game, and then I watch a couple guys who I had no idea who they were just be like, "Oh yeah, we're going to show you how to play this game, and we're going to make it actually not super intimidating and not super." Oh, by the way, oh crap, no one can hear you because this whole time. Yep,
Oh,
that whole time you were talking, I forgot to unmute my desktop audio, so now they can hear you.
all my beautiful ideas. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Tycho Imaga from Playon Tabletop, and yeah, that's what brings me here to the hobby video today. That's the short and sweet version.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. So, my apologies, chat. That entire time, we were sitting here talking, and it was wonderful and lovely, but you didn't hear a word of it. He gave away all the hints, all the secrets.
Yep.
He told me what codexes were coming out because they got that kind of insider info, and you missed all of it.
Just fear Eldar. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. I'm hearing Yanari are gonna make people cry.
Leonardo always did. I mean, even now in their sort of truncated state, they have some tricks. But yeah, tiny elves in general has always been something that has been part of my hobby journey.
So before the stream, you and I were talking about how it feels to be in front of the camera, and we even acknowledged like we should probably be talking about this on screen, but
Right.
how your experience with your comfortability with being on camera has shifted significantly from before Playon Tabletop to into Playon Tabletop time. Tell me about this.
I think it shifted at various points of my life. As in, I've had did some stage and film work long ago, but it's a little different when you're presenting yourself rather than a character. And I think where it became uncomfortable recently is when I was trying to edit video of myself and just becoming very self-conscious about things like mouth sounds and you're going to become self-conscious about when you're staring at yourself trying to be engaging and funny and like hopefully the best version of yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And Yeah, so it can be challenging, especially when you're seeing all the really unpleasant parts up close and personal, and usually over and over again as you try and
Hmm.
remove them from a video. So
Yeah,
that's probably where the
I can't watch my own videos. I can't watch anything of mine because I cannot stand the sound of my own voice, which I know would surprise most people because I love to talk, but I love to talk and it's like a one time thing for me. I don't like, for example, we recently did this incredible stream that was live from the Cincinnati Zoo and it was on the front page of Twitch and we had like 1,500 people watching it live. It was
that's fun.
insane. Oh, yeah.
Baby Rhinos. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, it was a 100 times increase in our usual audience. It was unbelievable, but I tried to go back and watch the VOD and I just couldn't. I
What made
started
it so excruciating?
my own voice.
Right.
Just the way I talk and the way it sounds, I'm just
Mhm.
like, nope. Nope, can't do this. Nope, 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 nope. That's the other reason why like this podcast that all of you are watching right now, patrons have access to it for 1 month and then it goes up like as a listed video on my YouTube channel with all 8 subscribers. Do. But the
Nice.
go subscribe to my YouTube channel for unedited podcast content because that's the other thing is I won't edit it, one because I don't know how, and two because I don't want to listen to myself like you just said over and over
Oh,
and over and over again.
editing is a journey. I never thought I'd get into it. It always terrified me as like a mind-numbing, technical, like difficult experience, and it kind of is all those things, but it can be really rewarding and yeah, it's been an interesting discipline to dive into.
Mm-hmm. And I have mad respect for the folks who are like, so I've interacted with several individuals that really like to monetize their hobby time. So like a great example, I'm actually wearing like another great example of it. I'm wearing a shirt because he created a brand based around the hobby lifestyle, and I bought one of his shirts to support. Well, 2 shirts and a hat to support him, and so he does stuff like that. He's like, oh, I'm gonna record my YouTube videos on Twitch so people get it live, and then I just edit it a little bit and then make YouTube content. I was like, maybe I'll try that. And then I just spiraled into madness after even thinking about it for more than 30 minutes because that amount of work just made it stop being fun for me.
Well, when your play becomes work, you definitely have a transition to come to and a crossroads to kind of like really think hard about because there kind of isn't really a way back in terms of like how you feel about things unless you burn it all down and start again, which is easily doable in the hobby space. But like when you try and monetize your passions, it changes how those passions function in your life, and that can be scary, especially when a lot of those times for me, like the hobby stuff has been integral to like how I self care and like spend my time like constructively and feel good about myself. And mental health is a difficult thing these days, and my hobby definitely has helped keep me where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I came to the hobby from the painting perspective. I never even really had high hopes for even playing the game, but painting the models was my sought refuge because of the stress of my job at the time. So I totally understand the use of like of the hobby as a or any hobby in general, like not this one specifically, but in this case for me, as a way to cope with the stressors of daily life. And if you start kind of letting those daily life stressors leak into your hobby by making the choice to monetize it or just to like up your game, so to speak, like in your case, doing like YouTube, Patreon, like the live streams you guys do on YouTube, it like and all this other stuff that you're building out into, it can change the
I'm also part of
perspective.
the team. A lot of things that around that happened without me having to like specifically think about it a whole hell of a lot. As in, we were as a team coming up with great ideas on a lot of fronts, and other parts of that we're figuring out how to turn it into something that can sustain itself. And here we are today. But it, yeah, it's it can be a difficult transition, and not always how you expect it's going to go.
I mean, I just started as a test. I took on a commission, and my
Oh
very
yeah.
first commission, and it was a like exactly like we're talking about when you monetize your hobby in a positive way, as opposed to, you know, the monetization of Warhammer for all of us is a very negative thing. Like, it's just like, okay, you have now started this hobby, it will now start taking all of your money. But in my
It
attempt to
can be.
start like fighting that back up, but this was actually a really good test case. I didn't realize it at the time, but the project the guy gave me was to paint 5 models from Warlord games that were all Judge Dredd, like a Judge Dredd collection. A pair of thugs, Judge Anderson, Judge Dredd himself, and then a special collector's edition figurine of Judge Dredd versus Judge Death. Bye, hon. And it was a combination of a bunch of things that I'd never done before. I basically had, aside from a D&D model here or there, I'd never painted anything other than Warhammer. Also, because it's a comic book style, and he wanted it to look like the physical, like, comic book pages, non-metallic metal,
Oh geez.
heavy heavy on the dark lining, so lots of use of Tamiya panel liner, all this stuff that I'm somewhat familiar with, but had never done myself. Like non-metallic metal, I had never done it until this project. And
That's not a jump. That's a hill to climb.
yeah, it's like, did I pack the parachute? Oh well, here we go. And
Yeah.
it turned out all right. I've been sending him updates, and he's super duper happy with everything. And for what
Awesome.
I've been doing, I'm very happy with how it's turned out. And I'm on the last model. You can see him on my painting stand right now. I just have to do Dredd himself by himself. The solo Dredd, the big guy right here was uh-oh, did we lose? There is Tycho. But this is,
See what's on your side.
oh, because I'm not sharing my screen on Discord, I'm on Twitch. Because if I was sharing on Discord, oh no, wait, I think I can. I know oh no, wait, I can't, because I can't use I can't use my camera in both OBS and Discord at the same time. Found that out the hard way.
Tune in on, anyway, doesn't matter.
But either way, the long story short is that he's happy, I'm happy, and this was a great way to kind of stress test doing commissions, especially because I'm painting something that is outside my comfort zone, both technique wise and model line wise. And I was happy doing both. So that's a good indicator that maybe this is something I can do more in the future. But that's just one type of monetizing of the hobby, whereas you guys took the production side of things, which I get to be part of, and I am so excited. I talk about it at least once per stream. I'm like, and if you guys didn't remember, I'm going to be on Playon Tabletop. And it is it is the highlight of, like, it's happening in January, and it's going to be the highlight of my whole year.
Well, I hope you live up to the hype.
No, I hope I live up to the hype. I hope you edit me to make it entertaining.
Ooh. Well, that's actually not my. I'm not going to be editing that one, or at least not the 40K and 40M side.
Okay, so who do I have to suck up to make them edit me to like look good?
You know what? That's actually privileged information about season 4. I think right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
in that I don't know.
Oh, oh, that's need to know information. I don't know what it is. I apparently don't need to know. So, what are you working on right now, Tycho? What are some projects? What, like, be it a painted model, be it just like I built a bird feeder. Like, what's some stuff you're doing?
Specifically on the bird feeder front, I actually had to take down the bird feeder because my cat decided to not be old and fat and actually catch a bird, and anyway, it was a production. But
I like how I threw out bird feeder as a random thing, and you actually had a bird feeder related story.
It was, yeah, you know, well, it surprised my wife, I think is what it was. But poor bird was flying around the apartment for like half a day.
Oh no.
Little tiny guy, hard to get out. Anyway, um, eventually flew away. The bird's fine, which is good.
Oh, good.
Um,
Okay. Like, because my
yeah,
mind went to bird flying around the house with like, like half a wing, and it's just like, oh God, help.
there was a little bit of blood, but it didn't bleed everywhere. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. Cats and birds mix as they mix, right? So, we taking the bird feeder back in. So I'm not sure where that all ends. But in terms of what I've been working on, Playon Tabletop, um, I've been working on a project for Parabellum Games. We're doing some videos on Last Argument of Kings and First Blood, the Conquest games. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We did a shoot last night, or actually last yesterday afternoon. Went pretty good. Got my butt kicked. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's a spoiler. Don't say anything to anybody anywhere.
He may or may not have won and or lost a game that may or may not have been Conquest.
I have won and lost at Games of Conquest.
I still can't believe I beat you in a game of Conquest. Those
Yep.
those 100 Kingdom Knights are no joke.
They are no joke at all. I got squashed. Yeah, yeah. We've been playing with some of the more objective heavy.
Yeah, I guess that's the other part of it. Is there were no objectives in our game. It was literally just two armies smashing into each other, which I got to give props to. I got to give props to Parabellum for that, because that format felt natural.
Oh yeah, it's a great game. The more I play it, the more I want to play it more. There's lots of nuance to it, and we got to talk to some of the guys from the Vanguard Garage Games Garage Games podcast, who do a Conquest Last Argument of Kings focused podcast. And yeah, they had a lot of really cool stuff to tell and learning about the meta, as it were, and kind of it's been a lot of fun to dive into a new game. And I was a Warhammer Fantasy guy. That was kind of what brought me really from being a hobbyist that existed like in a basement with no contact with anybody, just buying fun models that I wanted to paint, to going to tournaments and really kind of being part of the community and trying to get good at this game that I learned to love, which was Warhammer Fantasy. But then my little dreams were crushed with the advent of Age of Sigmar, and I had to go play.
Well, isn't there the rumor that they're going to be doing like some sort of like Warhammer Fantasy Redux or something? This is a side of Games Workshop that I know next to nothing about. Although I will agree with you, like from the perspective of like, I look at the model lines, and Age of Sigmar has some beautiful looking models. I will.
Oh, they do. It's some of the best stuff GW does. I gotta say.
But none of them grab me. Like none of them make me look at them and go, "Yes, I must paint this army. I have all these ideas." None of them like spark my creativity in that way.
Lumineth. I want to paint Lumineth one day.
They were close. Them and the vampires they got me real close, but not quite there. But then, speaking of Conquest, when I saw the promo art and like the concept art for the Old Dominion, I was like, I'm in. I was waiting for something to grab my fancy for Conquest, and this was it. This is exactly what I needed. Awesome. For those of you in chat who don't know, there are two armies. It is just the two, like the Greek and the Roman style armies that are coming out in Q1, or are there any others?
I have no better information than anybody else. To be honest, this is news to me that there's two.
Yeah, so there's going to be so zombie Roman legions. That's the best way I can describe it, Chad. There is going to be an army called the Old Dominion, and they are going to be necromantic Roman soldier looking type, and they look so cool. And then there's going to be like a Greek city state that's very like kind of, if I remember the art correctly, because I wasn't focusing on it as much because I was like zombie Roman legionnaires, and that's all I thought about. but it was like if you mixed Greeks with elves kind of vibe. Lots of
That
like
sounds cool.
lots of high sorcery, and I think automata,
Right.
and I believe that was kind of the vibe for that army, which also is very cool. But
Yeah.
I admit conquest, like I was looking at the armies, I'm like, okay, you got your dwarves, you got your barbarians, you got your very standard factions. But
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for something a little spicier, a little bit more meat. And then
Uh,
I saw Dominion. I'm like, I'm in. That's it. We're done.
well,
I've got it.
in terms of spicy, the dinosaur riding orcs are just right. Are pretty amazing. The Ladroon are awesome models. Those are really fun sculpts. So I think there's a lot there in that line. It's great stuff. The whole thing. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
I
I will admit, yeah, when someone described like that was the one that also got me like almost there was like, oh, you know, there's like orcs riding dinosaurs, right? I'm like, excuse me?
they're good too.
Yeah, that was the other thing I heard is that they're a very strong faction right now.
Yeah, they're fun.
My local game store has been heavily pushing Conquest, and Parabellum apparently really appreciate it. They're like retweeting their stuff, or not retweeting, they're sharing their stuff on Instagram all the time. But
Awesome.
yeah, and that is really
I think
cool.
the models and the scale really jive with I think like early painters. Like it's a really accessible model line as like with basic techniques you can get really good results. The sizing is important on that, and yeah, it's got some good stuff there.
Yeah, the like you said, the sculpts are they're in that perfect midpoint where you can do crazy techniques on them and bring out some insane detail, but also if you just do
Sure.
simple color blocking because they're all packed together in these little grid movement trays, they're going to look great regardless.
Yeah, very forgiving. Lots of good stuff to paint. So yeah, that's been a big project. Learning a lot on my end, trying to expand my repertoire of video knowledge to try and make more and more of it as refined as we can. We're always trying to up our game. Um, and we're trying to juggle multiple projects and multiple people doing multiple things with multiple schedules and
Yeah.
trying to make the whole dance is kind of a job that no one's doing that. Actually, no, there's a few people that are doing it. Like all the jobs that we have. No one gets to do just one thing around our shop. And
Mm-hmm.
it's fun, and we see interesting production upgrades when we start really crossing over and teaching each other how to do more and more of what we do. So,
Well, in the business world, everyone loves to talk about cross functionality and having like no monotaskers out there, so that if you know if Nick like was suddenly stricken ill on production day and someone needed to step up and do lighting, one of you guys would be able to step in and do that. It's
this is a continual discussion around the art camp. That's a big one, especially when you're making videos. It's
mhm.
huge.
And
It's
videos
almost
to the
everything.
production quality, like you mentioned, that you
Ooh,
guys do. No one makes videos like you guys. Period.
well, thank you. We do our best.
I've
We do our
recently
best.
started teaching my father how to play 40K
Yeah.
because he jokingly, of course, like he jokingly scoffed. He's like, "Is this what it's like when I talk about my job? Like how you guys feel when I was describing the game?" And I'm like, "Probably." But he to as a just a sheer credit to him, he came back the next day. He's like, "Matt, I gotta be honest. I thought about that game some more, and it sounds a lot like Risk, and I love Risk. I think I want to learn how to
Ooh.
play this game." And I'm like, first of all, like on the inside, I started hyperventilating, like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." But I was just like trying to play it cool, like, yeah, it's kind of like Risk. It's like if you mixed Risk and chess, and instead of
Ooh.
and so all your different pieces do different things, and instead of in Risk where you're like, I am the red army and you are the blue army, but we function the exact same way, there's 18 different colors and all the colors have different pieces and they all do different things. And
I
then his eyes got bugged a little bit. He's like, "What?" I was like, "Don't worry about that right now.
they're fine.
Here's some Space Marines. Calm down."
They're, I describe it as chess on steroids with 10,000 pieces and no board.
That's another good way of looking at it. For him, it was the mix of Risk and chess was the analogy that really like cemented it for him. But some of the first videos that I had him watching was the same video that I learned how to play with you guys, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. I was like, hey guys, go watch Playon Table. Hey Dad, here's this link to this YouTube video from Playon Tabletop. Here's their battle report series. He also really liked the Midwinter Minis start collecting box battle royale thing, because that is such a small scale thing that he can like follow along. But he still said like, he's like, people put a lot of effort into these videos. I'm like, very few people do. These guys, the reason why I showed you them is their production value is better. No one puts freaking visual effects for like a missile shooting across the table. No one does explosions. These guys do.
We have yet to see somebody actually, go whole hog. We have seen what we actually really enjoy, a push across the whole sort of YouTube verse of battle reports, a distinct uptick in production value since we started, and we've talked to a lot of other creators that saw what we did and wondered how the hell we did it, and tried to take parts of it that they felt would make their product better. And yeah, no, it's been kind of fun to feel like you've had an effect on the landscape. And I think we have a competitive advantage in certain aspects with being able to do what we do, but I think a lot of people do. There's lots of different like spots for people to land in terms of what they want in terms of production value as battle reports of all sorts of games go, and making that entertaining is where it's at. For us, that's what we want to try and do. We want to really respect our viewer and make it so that first and foremost we're providing entertainment and showing off how much fun we're having, because that's tends to be when our viewers have fun. So that's
because you can't, or you can, but it takes a lot of effort. It's really hard to manufacture a genuine sense of enjoyment, and that kind of thing is infectious even through a screen. So when like the fact that Nick screaming explosions or hashtag Year of Steve, like these sorts of things that you guys are all like enthusiastic about, that translates onto the camera, and then it translates to the viewer, which is why like whenever you guys do a live stream, chat just like blows up like, for the love of God, we need explosions or Nick's gonna die. And you've created obviously a community based around this, and all of your unique skill sets, which I think like it was kind of obviously like anything else, it's right place, right time, right people. And the fact that all of you are in the Vancouver area, which is, for those of you who aren't aware, Vancouver is a very big area for filmmaking. So a lot of you guys, Nick and Tack specifically, have a lot of experience in that field. So, and Steve is a teacher.
Steve teaches drama and high schools. Actually, I don't know if it's high schools. I'm not exactly sure what age group he's teaching. Young people to be dramatic.
God, I want to be in. I want to be in that class so bad.
He sounds like a child master. He doesn't put up with any guff from his kids. He's I don't think he's Space Marine Steve in the classroom as much.
By the way, I did order a Year of Steve T-shirt.
I think we all did. Because it's the Year of Steve.
Yeah, so, my father's name is Steve.
Yes, so he's going to enjoy that.
So the fact that it says I believe in Steve, like I was like, well, that's Christmas right there.
That's Christmas. I hope he's not watching the stream, because otherwise the present's been spoiled, isn't it?
Oh, I love my dad to death, but he's despite the fact he is very innovatively minded, technology can sometimes escape that man. So he's not
I,
here right now. If you are, hi dad.
I, I get it, but yeah, I, I stumble around way behind the curve in the technical side of things.
Yeah, same here. Like someone said, why don't you get a stream deck so you could do like quick transitions with the scenes as opposed to like reaching around with your left hand and trying to do like stuff with your mouse like in front of you. And I'm like, it's another piece of technology that I won't know how to use. So
Mm.
we just keep it
Nope.
low tech over here as much as possible.
We have to evolve at some point. You never know what's going to be what makes it big on the next front. So
This is true.
stay agile. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
If Instagram is any sort of indication, I know nothing about technology, and the fact that like some things I do work and then some things I do don't. It just shows that like there is a method to the madness. I just don't understand it yet. Like this morning I was just feeling really jazzed. I was excited about chatting with you. I was just having a good morning. I had gotten a decent night's sleep for once, and I just recorded a reel. I recorded a little
Ooh,
15-second video, and I'm just like dancing around to some Billy Idol. And
nice.
and that thing got like 2,500 views in less than an hour, and that like never happens. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why did
So
this
now you're a
particular
TikTok star
thing?
as well.
Oh god, I would never touch TikTok. Oh god, no. Oh,
Sounds like a TikTok video.
it is. I mean, it's essentially like TikTok but on Instagram, and it is like the desired form of content right now. Like
Yep.
it is the more
To be honest,
watched.
we're looking at TikTok and trying to figure out how to translate what we do. We
Um,
have
the
not
bet
gotten much further than like that's an idea we should talk about. Does anybody know about TikTok? We're all like, no.
no. The best thing I can say is like if you want to know the kind of stuff that's gonna do really well on TikTok, the little video of um from the army showcase that just got released with the Space Wolves, the joke that you guys did where you cut away to the editing and you're like, hey Nick, come watch this. That is the kind of stuff that blows up on TikTok. That's the kind of
Ah,
content that makes people giggle. Um,
well, I mean, we're in the business of entertainment, so we sold our pride at the door, and now we're trying to make it happen. So we'll
yeah,
see what happens
and
with
seeing
TikTok.
what Tack was talking about in the
Program.
Discord, you guys got big plans for next year. The way your growth is, it has been going. Like it sounds like there's big potential for next year.
We really hope so.
Uh,
We are working really hard to make that. So, sorry, my headphones might have cracked open. Everything's still happening.
yeah, you're still coming through.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, no, next year we are pedal to the metal. We are trying to expand and move forward and get more content on the channel as best we can. Um, it's been an exciting year. It's also had some like sort of gut check moments in terms of the future of gaming and Warhammer and like YouTube and how do we make enough money to keep doing this with stuff like our studio rent changing and trying to figure out where we're going to be and how to keep on pace with our productions. Um, yeah, we've been really lucky to work with some great partners over the periods over the years. Now it's been years. That's crazy to think of it too. It's
Mhm.
been going on for a while now. To get us where we are right now, and next year we hope to be working with a lot of new people and other games and more projects, and trying to just kind of keep moving forward and make the channel something really awesome people want to be part of. So
It's unbelievable that you guys have already, again, in the amount of time that you've been doing it, you yourself are like the one, thanks to the generosity of patrons, YouTube, and so on, that you're the one who's like the full-time guy with Playon Tabletop, but everyone else, in addition to doing all the stuff they do, they also have like day jobs and all this other stuff that they do. So I find it
I
hard
think
enough
a
to
part of that is that I am able to charge a low enough price for it all to make sense to everybody.
here's my offer.
But
You sure? Yes.
well, you know, we all need to survive, and we all have different needs as different households and different individuals, and you know, we all put as much as we can into Play on Tabletop, and it it eventually made sense to the team to make it my full time position to work for Play on. And I really think it's helped us expand. I think it's probably helped me more in terms of learning and getting a free education as a video editor in particular. But
Because they're all
um,
your video education, like every single Udacity or whatever course you take is now a tax write-off because it's
I
work related.
guess I don't have time to take courses. I'm, I'm learning by fire, right? I'm yeah I'm in the trenches making, you know, cutting down what we need to cut down. I'm not as quick as some of our team, but getting faster and faster and learning all
Mm-hmm.
the trade. We're trading tricks, you know. It's all about keyboard commands when you start getting fast in the edit bay.
So chat has been saying they love your death card. Playon is awesome. Obviously, very very truism statements. Um, chat, if you have any questions for Tycho, feel free to put him into the chat feed, and I may deign to ask your question of Tycho. But while we're sitting here waiting for that delay to see if we can get some questions from them, I
Hmm.
want to reiterate that Altier says more custodies when. That was
Ooh,
he beat me
more
to.
custodies when? Um, well, I have some custodies that are in the train or in the pile of shame. Um,
Well,
I don't
I do have
I don't have any good answers for when custodies are going to be on the channel next. We hope that we hope to have a more eclectic rotation. Um, we look back and we see a lot of Space Marines, and we do have a Play On member named Space Marine Steve, but to be frank, Tax Main Army is Space Marines as well.
mm-hmm.
So there tends to be a lot of power armor. So we're trying to branch out and figure out good ways that we can do that. Working with people in the community, working amongst ourselves, and looking forward to other things like sponsorships and stuff to try and get a bigger diversity, and that definitely includes custodies. I mean, specifically, we are super stoked to have sisters on the channel coming up with you. So
Yeah,
it's
it was that
yeah.
moment when I realized I'm like they've never had sisters on the channel before.
Now
Oh,
we will.
oh crap! Now I got to be the one to represent sisters, and I'm the guy who, till now, I played one game against you,
Mm,
and that was also my first 2K points game ever, and we played
yep,
that on Tabletop Simulator.
we did.
I have adapted my list a little bit after that, based on what
Oh,
I learned, what you had
right.
kind of elaborated on, like the immolator, gone. That thing
Oh,
that thing
it's a
did
hard lot.
nothing. Did
It's a
nothing.
big rhino that costs a lot more. Yeah, that's sadly what it is.
And well, on top of that, I think I'm already giving you enough bring it down points because Paragon Warsuits have
Ah,
the vehicle keyword. So each one is worth
yeah.
1 point. So that's 6 points with them alone.
I think if you're picking those kinds of units, then you either decide right up front to be like, okay, I'm just going to bust right through that and let that be a max pick against you. At which point you're essentially playing mech sisters. That's not what you were after. You're most of the coolest stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff in your army.
I appreciate
But
that.
the infantry is a vital part of what you're wanting to bring. So I think it's an interesting choice to dial back on the vehicles, to not give up a full secondary. I mean, a lot of the best lists ride a lot of those lines to make it really difficult to pick secondaries against.
Yeah,
So
I think if you look at the list now, it's Morvenval as a vehicle, So that's
Yeah.
one. The 6 Paragon War Suits is 7, and then the 2 Rhinos gets you to 9. So now instead of 11 points, it's 9 points for that specific secondary. So that
Right.
makes it a little bit harder to make that call. Um,
And
so
a whole bunch of those points have reduction to incoming damage.
yes,
So yeah,
Morven Ball
you've got
cuts
a
it in
lot of.
half, and
Yep.
the suits take it down by 1.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we have here? ZM, you're asking for more orcs. Oh, you've got something coming, brother. You've got something coming, and you're gonna love it. You might see someone's name that's a little familiar to you in that video, but just you wait, buddy.
Oh,
You'll get your orcs. Hero,
yeah, it's funny. You fall into this.
they
Yeah.
just did that massive Ultramarines versus Tyranids battle that was like 4,000 points aside. That's like your kind of game. Um, the guy here in chat, Hiroichi, he paints faster than anybody
Ooh.
I've ever seen, and he doesn't use an airbrush. And
Oh.
he rags on his technique, but this guy puts in so much detail, and he has more Forge World than I think Forge World does. He's working. He just mentioned he's working on a guard army that has 210 conscripts in it.
Nice. That's a lot of conscripts.
It is, and he's it's all 3D printed because it's all Halo themed. So they're all like
Oh, fun.
Halo UNSC soldiers, and
Yeah.
he's got like Master Chief and Pelicans and all sorts of
Sweet.
other great stuff.
Pelicans.
But and if you need Custodes, I do have the
Yeah.
Custodes army that I finished painting in 11 days.
It's all done now.
Oh, it's done. I finished it. I finished 3,500 points in 11 days.
Yeah. That's a beautiful army too. I love that kind of really soft approach.
Yeah,
Looks great.
I'm still trying to figure out like as much as one can say like, oh, I like your style, giant air quotes. Um, I'm starting to find I really like doing a 2 or 3 tone airbrushed effect for like the majority of the body, and then I go in and do metallics separately, and
Yep.
then probably use an enamel wash or a streaking grime over that and remove like 95% of it. So it's like mixing my love of using really vibrant colors with a bit of that grimdark aesthetic that is kind of popular right now. But I mean, for me, it's 40K, it's grim, it's dark. Let's get a little grunge in there. But to each their own. I'm not judging anybody's color choices.
If you threw on a final little like white airbrush highlight, you'd be painting a lot like tack.
I love tax paint jobs.
Well, it shows in your style. I mean, you're going to that beautiful airbrush, like let the model speak through its tonality, as opposed to some kind of cell shaded, like lots of hard lining. And yeah, no, I think it's a beautiful style. It really is. And you've got your own take on it, and it looks great.
And that's the best part about this hobby, man. Like the fact that you and I could look at the same model and have completely different approaches to it, and both look
Oh
great.
yeah.
There's no wrong way to paint a model. Well, okay, I did tell my local game store owner that if there was an army that I really, really, really wanted to play in a tournament, but I didn't have time to paint it all, I would Zenithal highlight. I would, prime it black, Zenithal highlight, and then I would just flick Blood for the Blood God on it. And he would be like, that's not, I'm like, it's 3 colors and I call it Sin City style. And he was like, don't you dare do that because technically you're
Why?
right. And I hate that you're right.
Oh, but he thought it would look bad.
No, he's just like, like that's like in a very loving way.
Cop-out?
Like he was saying like, that you're technically right, but that makes me upset that you're technically right. And you're doing like this minimum effort thing. And I'm like, but it'll still look cool. Because sometimes, like,
Well,
I've Zenithaled a model, and I'm like, I really don't want to paint this now because that looks just cool as it is.
you know, I mean, I've never heard of somebody being. I mean, if you have 3 colors in based, that's a fully painted model, whatever it is. If you
Mm-hmm.
think it looks cool, even better. If I think it looks cool, fantastic. But like, yeah, I don't know. I would love to see a Sin City paint job that pulled it off, right?
Yeah.
you
I
don't
think
need to spend time. You do need to spend some care and attention and love. And like, I think that's all possible in very short periods of time. If you can pull it off, great, you know?
absolutely, because in order to do like that Sin City style accurately, you would have to take the soft edges of the Zenithal and you'd have to go in and hardline a lot of them to give that comic book feel. So
Sure.
it was kind of like the halfway
Yeah.
point. What's
I
this?
think if you're accurate with your Zenithal, if you're using, I mean, it all depends on how you're using your airbrush. I would also think this wouldn't actually be a zenithal. It would actually be a like a tonal approach to painting the model. You'd go and basically have a black model and use grays and whites to paint a black and white version of what you want to paint, and then you'd splatter some blood on it, right?
That is a good
Wouldn't
point.
just work. Maybe you do just do a zenithal, and it's just a rattle can paint job. But you know what? I've I've done very well in paint rubrics with rattle can paint jobs that were like exactly what you just said, with like one more detail of a metallic thrown in,
Hmm.
and bam, you've got a Space Marine army. Like Space Marines, not a lot of painting, um, even if you're going to paint to a pretty decent standard. You know, it's one base coat and a few details, and if you've done it right, you're basically done.
So we have a few more questions from my buddy Cosmic. Um,
Hmm.
does Tack paint most of your guys' stuff, or do you guys mostly paint your own stuff?
Um, TAC has a lot of the studio armies. A lot of them are TACs. In particular, the Ultramarines, the Death Guard are his, and he did most of the painting for the Death Guard. I've painted a lot of things into the Death Guard. A lot of my painting recently has actually been to paint models into other people's armies, which is a kind of a skill into itself. Um, So I've done a lot of painting that you've seen on the channel, but in terms of the entire army being mine or like my concept, not many. Most of my armies, I was at a hobby low when I started with Playon, and the army, but the Blood Angel army that I had there tried to go in for a getting rid of some paint, and it screwed up, and the models were basically not usable. Um,
That's
So yeah,
unfortunate.
anyway, I've been using other armies and trying to wrap my hobby into the channel, and I've done a lot of making of unique models. Most of my favorite part of the hobby was converting, was making
Preach.
stuff my own. So um, a lot of my stuff, like the war dogs we have in the channel for the Chaos Army.
Hmm.
Those that was a war dog that I found in tax collection, which I essentially stole from him and brought home and cut into two pieces and turned into two war dogs and brought it back and said, "What do you think?" that was that was how that went, and that was a time-consuming project, and a lot of the kind of the conversion work is half of the time. I think converting is sourcing your pieces,
Oh
whether or
God,
not you're, you know,
the more you look at bits boxes of your own, like as you slowly accrue stuff, or just like searching around online or seeing other people's models, and you just go, that I need that specific thing. But of course, it's always attached to like a $60 or $70 model, and you're just like,
Well,
fine.
3D printers are changing everything. I'm kind of way behind on that one.
That is a good point.
I'm from I do a lot of press molding and a lot of sculpting. I just sort of make it out of green stuff if I don't have another place to find what I want. Um,
100% agree. Because I mean, like
and
someone
that's
even said, why
fun,
don't
but
you just source 3D printed bits for all the capes on all of your Brood Brothers? I'm like, no, that actually takes longer.
yes, especially with capes. You've got a good recipe for capes.
Well, it's not my
Yeah.
recipe. It's the Sauce Paintings recipe. He taught me everything I know, and I'm just
Uh,
adapting it to the visual style that I like. Because I like really tattered, like
right.
ganked up capes, and I always like them flapping in the wind. So the amount of time
Well,
that
you
I let
imagine
them cure is a
Yeah,
little
any
bit different.
cloth that would have to interact with power armor for a while probably wouldn't come out too great, Those
I mean,
patterns.
cloth like people in the 40k universe probably doesn't last very long. Is probably the worst for wear.
Exactly. Exactly.
And thank you, Table Flip Studios, for the raid. My apologies. I'm not. I during these podcast episodes, I don't interact much with chat. We are taking questions. If you have any questions for the one and only Tycho Imiga, who is here with us right now on stream. Yeah, that guy. That guy. I pointed in the wrong direction. It's that guy. He is both here and here. Double Tycho. So
Okay. Scary.
and actually, speaking of conversions, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to preface this with I'm really proud of myself for lasting this long, but I think I couldn't think of a better place to make this announcement.
Uh-oh.
I can't keep a secret to save my soul. I have been working on something and it's not 100% done. There's one more I still need to do, but I need to show you something that I'm doing for each member of the Playon Tabletop team as a gift and a thank you for allowing me to be
How
on
am I
your
going
show.
to see this? How do I see this?
Up on over to the stream.
Okay. On Twitch?
Yes. Let me pull these down over here. So chat, you are all aware of some things that I've been working on. And I've been like, oh, we're gonna keep it super hush hush and we're gonna surprise them. But the fact that we have Tycho on camera here with us right now, and also the fact that we don't know that or I'm fairly certain that the rest of the Playon crew isn't here means it's perfect. So yeah, I know, guys. Get ready for this. This is going to be the clippable moment.
Is this going to hit the it's going to be on Discord at some point, I'm sure.
The pictures of everything I've done, or like the finally. Okay, so as I said, I wanted to do a gift for each of you, and I started. The very first one I did was one for Nick. I wanted to do a gift for Nick, so I dropped a few questions like, what's the kind of thing that you can never have enough of in a Tau army? And he said Cold Star commanders are definitely a thing you want to try to get your hands on and have plenty of. So I trolled eBay and I found a $33 in not great condition Cold Star commander. And then I watched his army showcase and paused the video at every frame where I could see the basing on his models.
Okay.
And I did up a Cold Star commander for him.
Oh, wow.
So if it would focus, for goodness sake, this is a Cold Star commander trying to match that wintry base that he has for his army. But it turns out this head is a different head. I wasn't aware of that when I bought it. So, kind of a score in that regard. Next,
amazing.
Next, we did because I heard Tack mention in the Discord that he was planning on starting a Space Wolf army, because I know he loves AdMech. But
he sold his Space Wolf army.
Oh, nuts. Because I did a Space Wolf for him.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure he'd love to have it.
But I did a customized Space Wolf captain, or captain, lieutenant, just character model. If it would.
Yeah.
Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, so we're going to lose Tycho for half a second while let's just do this. Even though it's not PSK, it's Tycho. But I can at least pull up the stream so that Tycho can see the model properly. So we did a head swap, a simple hand swap.
Looks great. He's a Blood Claw, or he's a Primaris. I don't know what he is now.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Space Wolves, so I'm like, I know that's a Wolfen marking, and that's about it. So I was just like, oh, he's got a Wolfen Claw, because I didn't like the single bladed axe. I'm like, no, double bladed axe, and then a Blood Claw head. And now that
You've been
we're in
working on your edge
focus,
highlighting on that one, I can see.
and this is the one
Oh yeah,
for Nick.
he's gonna love that. You have to name it.
Oh, I'll figure something out. And this is the one I did for Space Marine Steve. And I
Okay.
yet again, I want to preface this. I did this, and then like a week later, they announced the new Emperor's Champion, and I was like, I was almost upset. I was like, they announced a new Emperor's Champion. I'm like, damn it! I go and I look at the picture of it. I'm like, I'm good. I like this one way better. So I turned
Awesome.
a Judiciar into an Emperor's Champion,
Oh, sweet. He's gonna love that.
and I
Oh, the bloodthirster or bloodletter head.
yep.
Fuck yeah.
And
Sorry.
no, we can swear here. It's all good. And I also, this was my first time doing a green stuffed
What's
logo.
that?
So
Yeah.
we have that on that pauldron. Did some chain work, 3D printed head,
Sweet.
and then I also tried to match the basing on the
On his Black Templars.
yep, tried to match that deserty base vibe.
Yeah. Oh, that was my basing.
Oh, that was you? Okay, well,
Yeah.
so how'd I do? Did I do it?
You built up a lot more than I did. You got it looks great. Looks
Perfect.
fantastic.
Perfect. And the last
It
one,
fit right in.
the last one was one I did as a speed paint challenge. So I painted this for JT.
Okay.
And I did this in an hour and 53 minutes. So I did a
JT would be
Talos.
impressed.
I did a Talos for him.
Really? A whole Talos? Whoa. That's a really nice job for how long?
Hour and 53 minutes. The challenge was to do it in less than 2 hours.
Right.
So
That's
we
great.
have Turbo Dork, Darknet on the back, and then some OSL with some. I was like, I want to try to get a little bit of OSL, so I just threw on the bits I thought were cool, did some as diseased and irritated flesh as I could.
Heat lances and some weird, slave flesh.
So the only one I still have left, you may notice there is one name I have not mentioned, and that is yours.
Is there? Oh my.
So I have a friend of mine who is the best converter I know. He's way better than me, and he has access to a bits collection that I genuinely think has no end. But he is working on a Demon Prince of Nurgle for you.
Oh my word.
And
my favorite.
Yep. And the reason why is I know you played a Demon Prince of Nurgle once, and I know it's the Finecast one, and I have, in my short time in this hobby, come to truly detest Finecast.
Oh, have you?
And so we are going to build you a Demon Prince of Nurgle that is not Finecast, that doesn't look like a guy like this.
That sounds so great.
So
I actually have a collection of Demon Princes. In fantasy, I played like Nurgle Demon Princes a lot.
So this one, the theme is that it's a chaos, it's a Death Guard Marine who is mid apotheosis. So he's got the bell that's been split and it's been turned into pauldrons, and his neck is like starting to like wrap up around his head as he's like starting to like bubble out, and his body is starting to expand and explode out. So that is, and I'm going to be painting it. He's converting it. I'm going to paint it, but all of these models are coming with me to be given to you guys.
Oh my word. Well, that's going to be incredible. I can't wait to see them.
So
this Demon Prince is going to have to hit the field and do some damage.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited. And see, if anything, I know we had talked about, and we obviously don't have to go into specifics, but we were talking about various things we could do on the stream when I'm there. I was looking at my transport solution and trying to find out how to bring the models necessary to fit the idea that we had. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it off. I don't think I'm going to have enough space to fit everything, which sucks, because it was a really fun list. It was a really, really weird, fun list. but
All right.
I don't think I'll be able to pull it off, unfortunately. I might still be able to bring like a couple examples of my various armies, but
Right.
not enough for that. But it would just be really fun to somehow get like little forces. But then again, these models are in such different like points ranges. Like Demon Prince way up here, and then like single Primaris Lieutenant for Space Wolf way down here. So the power range is a little
Demon Prince is what, double points? Yeah.
well, and that's before you start upgrading him.
I don't know. I run a lot of foot Demon Princes. They're not too expensive till you put wings on them.
Oh, that's the other thing. I gotta find out if he's putting wings on this thing. If he is, we'll make
Doesn't
sure
matter.
to magnetize him.
Well, actually, to be frank, it's very clear in the lore that Demon Princes don't need wings to fly. They can float around and smack stuff if that's the way they want to go to. So
That's a
it,
good point.
it's not a big deal to put wings on your Demon Prince model for even for game purposes, at least according to recent lore.
Okay. There's no like WYSIWYG for like wings on a Demon Prince.
Well, sure there is. I mean, if you have wings, you have wings. But to be frank, I mean, I,
Well, if you're gonna
I
be
don't know.
frank, can I be
If I was
Tycho?
going to a tournament, I'd probably put wings on my Flying Demon Prince just to be really clear with my opponent. Um, I I've gotten to a point of like in terms of what is allowable in terms of like alternate model to me is pretty broad, but that's not how everybody rolls, and especially in tournaments, it's just polite um, and kind of pro positive gaming experience for your models to be extremely clear visually of what they are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be ambiguous. That makes for feel bad moments when you're like, oh, well, I didn't think that guy could fly, but you have everything mounted on springs, and so how am I supposed to know?
Yeah, that actually was to bring it back to like the conversion. Well, I guess we never left the conversion discussion, but like from that perspective, people can make their armies however they want, but when you add in that extra challenge of like when I make my conversions, when I radically modify how my models look, in doing that, you have to make it consistent in order to have like a good tabletop experience for your opponent instead of them having to ask every 5 seconds, what's that supposed to be again? I
Yeah.
wanted for all of my stuff, like as much as I wanted to take the immolator and turn it into something absolutely insane and like get rid of the stained glass, I'm like, the stained glass, and granted the big guns on the front, are one of the things that really define that model as an immolator. It's part of that visual profile of it. So taking that and modifying it is one thing. Completely removing it would have made it, even for me, more difficult for me to track what's on the table. So
Mhm.
finding those particular points of like what visually defines a model, like with what's the, I keep forgetting what it's called. Not a Lord of Change, because it not, no, the Slanesh one, Keeper of Secrets with the forearms. Like you could give it a
Does it have
different
forearms?
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
does it have forearms? Like if it's got forearms, I'm gonna know that if it's big, tall, has forearms, I'm gonna assume it's a Keeper of Secrets.
Well, what I'm saying, I've fielded all sorts of weird stuff as keepers of secrets or greater demons of this and that, and to my eye, greater demon is a, I don't know, something weird that's about yay high and eats you. You know, like
That
there's
actually that is a good point with specifically with like chaos demons. There is such a broader range of stuff you can do. Like your creature caster game, oh my god, that game was amazing. That was so
those
pretty.
models are drop dead gorgeous,
I
and I
know.
think
Oh,
what I love is an immersive experience, and I think those models help, and they shouldn't be left out of what I want from my Warhammer game. Um, I
yeah.
love seeing unique stuff that is somebody's crazy pet project that took them way too many hours. And I know how many hours go into a lot of this stuff. And like, seeing someone take take Warhammer models and turn them into Star Wars characters and have, an orcish Darth Maul and, a Squigoth that was an AT-AT. Like these are the kind of armies that you remember that you want to see again, that, go to tournaments to show off rather than to win games. Like
Yeah,
that's
like
a huge part of
the
why I go to
Grot
tournaments.
Guard, the Grot Guard
Yeah,
army.
exactly.
Like
Exactly.
absolutely, like I mean, someone could start making the argument like, "Oh, those guys are shorter. You're modeling for advantage because they're harder to see." I'm like, it's grots in space in Imperial Guard uniforms. Calm down. This is golden. This is downright adorable.
Right. And I've come to the table with models that looked right, that were actually pretty good on footprint, that had line of sight, possibly differences. It's always arguable whether it's like, oh, you're too tall, therefore you can be seen. It's a, well, you can also see. Like what is the it's an abstraction. It's all abstraction. You're there to have fun.
And you know the kind
Getting
of people
caught in
that
this kind of
argue.
minutia isn't how to have fun at Warhammer, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100%. It's like once someone says that, I'm like, I'm probably not going to enjoy playing against you, am I? It's like, oh, you
Well, I
modeling
mean,
for advantage? I'm like, oh no, oh no.
yeah, this probably isn't going to be the experience I'm looking for. I think I've gotten good at finding that experience kind of in spite of my opponent, like having a good time, even if your opponent is not really helping you with that, is probably a good skill to have in the world of Warhammer, especially if you're going to go play in public and with strangers in competitive settings where people get just a little too attached to their tiny soldiers. You know?
Well, you
and
didn't use Mephiston Red on these Blood Angels, so I'm gonna have to say that this army isn't. I'm gonna not give you 10 points for a painted army because it's not lore accurate.
uh, you can, like an opponent like that, you give them a wink, you tell them, fine, you ain't getting yours neither, and let's do this. Like you can find a way forward in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
I've played against players that were, obviously cheating, and I had kind of given up the ghost after the first turn. It was foregone conclusion about how the game was going to end tournament wise, and I wasn't particularly interested in making a big scene. It
Yeah,
probably isn't fair to my person's next opponent, but it's a difficult call to make. And
it's such a
I don't know,
like
there's a
I can't
vast array of players out there.
I can't get into that. Like I can't physically understand the mentality of someone who goes to a game where variance is a huge portion of it. Like I mean, dice are involved. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. So you could have the best strategy, but if your rolls are garbage, that's that. Like when you and I played our 2,000 point game, you should have blown up half my army in the first turn and a half, but you didn't because
I
you rolled
missed.
terrible and I rolled really unnecessarily good. Like
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of Warhammer.
if I cheated to make my rolls really good, it stops being fun because the fun comes from like that anticipation of, oh, am I going to win or am I going to lose? If you just know you're going to win, it's just waiting. Like you're
It's
just
just wait.
waiting. You're waiting for
Well,
the other
maybe you're
person to
there
say
to
you
see
win.
your opponent squirm. I don't know.
That's
I
like,
I
ugh.
don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but you're right. I think that there's a different way to have fun gaming that is about sharing a narrative, is about bringing to life something that you think is really fun and cool, and having that be the focus of your game time is gonna pay way bigger dividends than if you're actually focused on who won or lost the game. Now, I am a competitive soul, and you put dice in my hand and tell me that I can outthink my opponent in spite of these little tiny, crystals of chaos or whatever dice are. Um, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and outthink my opponent. I'm gonna try and win. And I pride myself on being a tactician. I pride myself on finding ways to win difficult games of Warhammer. And I don't always succeed, but that's part of the fun for me. But you got to be able to know when to turn that on and turn that off, and it's not a perfect road. I've had games that didn't go the way I wanted them to, in socially, like that people weren't enjoying themselves at some points, and that's a hard moment to come to. And it's usually best to address it in the moment. And say, what's going on? Why aren't we seeing eye to eye here? Where's the problem? And it doesn't always work out how you want it to. And
This is
gotta
good
keep working at
etiquette
it.
stuff that I think, especially as a newer person, thankfully watching you guys, watching folks like I mean a lot of the other tabletop, battle report content creators, you guys, DZTV, mini war gaming, tabletop titan, so on and so on and so on, all of them universally have such good attitudes when the rolls go bad. You laugh because you're like, oh my guys just got blown up. Oh my god, this is hilarious. And that's what it is, because ultimately, like you guys are very fond of saying it is a shared narrative. And even in a tournament setting, yeah, you're gonna want to roll faster. You don't get to laugh as much or make like little voices as you move your guys. I mean, I still would make the time to do that.
Yeah,
But
can't stop me.
but um the fact that you're still there, one, to play a game, and two, to have fun with your opponent, you can't get too wrapped up in that. In the desire to win, that the reason why you're there in the first place kind of disappears.
Well, and like you said earlier, where's the fun in beating somebody when it's a foregone conclusion? I'm interested in, tearing apart somebody's best strategy, not somebody who didn't understand what was
Someone who put
happening.
his dice in the oven at 150 for 2 hours.
Well, I mean, if they need to do that to beat me, I'm happy to give them that win.
Well, I mean, if anything, that says a lot about, one, their capacity to play the game, and two, their, like, if I specifically went and baked my dice so that when I played against you guys, I knew I would win. One, that says a lot about me as a person, but two, it says a lot about my opinions of your ability to play. That I'm like, the only way I'm gonna beat these guys is if I cheat so hard. That said, I have no intention of cheating on anything. I promise. But because
Well,
that's not
I
fun.
mean,
But
I wouldn't cross our minds that somebody would do that. To be perfectly honest, it's not something that we anticipate in the kind of people that we invite on the channel.
and being on camera kind of makes it a lot harder. Just like, oh, that camera pointing right at the dice box. Like, hey, and I'm gonna use this stratagem. Cut. Which stratagem is that? Can you show us in the book so we can put up the text on screen? Oh, I guess I was mistaken.
Well,
Whoops.
to be honest, we make mistakes, and one of the beauties of having a fairly extensive post approach is that sometimes we can hide those mistakes or work around those mistakes or
Put a little
not show
disclaimer
those
across the
mistakes
bottom,
in a
like, yep,
variety
we
of
messed up here.
ways.
Moving on.
Yeah, and like, there's a big difference in my eyes between mistakes, between getting excited and having things get interpreted in ways that they might not otherwise, and cheating. Like, I think there's a huge gulf there.
Mm-hmm.
That this is a competitive game and people get caught up in it, and you can, worry about the millimeters of whether or not something's in range or not, and that can mean everything when it comes to how a game is. And that is an interpretive thing. The rulers aren't perfect, angles aren't perfect. We are humans and are imperfect, and sometimes the dice don't go our way. So I don't know. Just got to keep having fun with it and trying to approach it with a light heart. You're playing with toys.
Mm-hmm. Like, guys, this isn't made of platinum. It's plastic.
Yep,
It is
plastic.
toy. Is toy.
You know what? It's more valuable that it's made of plastic because you can change it how you want it, and
Mm-hmm.
like you don't need to weld platinum. Actually, platinum might be easy to.
Oh, I I not smart boy. Um, Ed. Oh wait, did you freeze? Did Tycho freeze? I think Tycho froze. No, Tycho. No,
Uh-oh.
Tycho. Oh, now he's back. Okay, I was freaking out. You came back.
Oh,
You had frozen and I wasn't getting any audio from you, so I may or may not have been like wiggling the mouse around your face like, Tycho, come back. And then he froze again, unless he's doing a really good mime impression. But while we're potentially waiting for that connection to reassert itself, Nick from Playon Tabletop actually gave me, incidentally, not directly, but through one of his through one of his videos, and I love the face that he froze on. Um, but he, there we go. Yeah, now we're back. Hooray! You're the face you froze on, hilarious, because you were. But I was saying that Nick said a thing that when you're losing, when it is obvious you are going to lose, it's so easy to check out. But what you do is you just decide, I'm going to make this a personal objective. Like, I will claim a moral victory if one of my units live, or if this guy kills that warlord. And I love that mentality, because by creating a secondary objective, like, yeah, you're not going to quote unquote win the game, but you get to win the game if you do your little thing. And
You just
I'm
get to have fun. You get to decide on a new part of the game to focus on.
mhm.
And like, did you show up at any particular Warhammer game to win it, or did you show up because you had an opportunity to play Warhammer and, like, meet a friend and or make a new friend, or test out this strategy that you've been chewing on while you've been making this list for however long, and then you painted models into it. There's so much to, I don't know, so much more to what Warhammer is to a lot of people than the actual game itself. And I think that's why it's a popular hobby, because it's a hobby. It's not just, I don't know, a game.
Yeah, it's not a sport.
And to be frank, I don't think it's actually all that good of a game. I'm actually really like Ninth has some big gaping holes in it for me as a technical game. I think there are better systems in the world. I don't think there are better communities. I don't think there are better, like, um, IPs really, in terms of the breadth and depth and interesting, like, cool stuff that like 40K has to offer. But yeah, I don't know. They could improve the nuts and bolts of Ninth, in my opinion.
Oh no, I agree. Like, even with my limited experience, I'm sure there are so many things where I'm like, why is this like this? Why are you like this? Ah! And it's
Especially for new
ultimately
players.
we need to,
Describing to new players just how many books they would need to show up at a tournament with to, like, be quote unquote fully legal.
like, if I wanted to run sisters, I would need to, like, including like one of the specific sub factions. Actually, the one that directly comes to mind is AdMech. So you need the AdMech Codex, and then you need like 2 of the Warzone Charadon books to have access to everything. You need 3 books to play one army.
Well, and that's without the actual rules of Warhammer.
Oh, core book. Okay, your core book. You need your grand tournament mission pack 2021.
So now you're up to,
5.
a stack of books. And that's just for one army. If you're going to get good at playing Warhammer, the people who are really good at Warhammer know your army better than you do. That's one of the secret sauces, is to know what you're facing. And how do you have good target priority if you don't know what you're shooting at, right? So, or where the
I
threats are coming from.
And that's why Parabellum, I love their approach. Like, the rules,
Mm,
all of them automatically updated online for free for everybody all the time. If you want to buy a book, because there are, like, I have the Dungeons and Dragons books behind me. I could
yeah,
get those digitally, but having it physically is nice.
yeah,
So if you want to own a physical book, you can, but you don't need to. And I love
yeah.
that. I love that so much. But GW is in the money making business, not the balanced game business.
Right.
So it makes them money, so they're going to do it.
I
And from a business
guess. Yeah.
perspective, I really can't
I
fault
wonder
them.
how long they can ride that train before people get choked and try other things. But to be honest, I think they should try other things. It's a big world of gaming out there. There's lots of cool stuff to play. Like, it's getting stuck under one umbrella is, I don't know. It's not where I want to end up as a gamer. I've always been a very diverse, like, player of games. So
Yeah, but it's what was the thing that basically up until 7th edition GW really didn't listen to the community, and then people just lost their minds with 7th, and that's when 8th happened, and like there was a big radical change. So if this is
well,
to be believed, 7 editions from
it,
now, we'll get a big change.
maybe. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Saying that GW is one thing is also just kind of silly, right? Like, it's a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of agendas, with a whole bunch of different ideas of what should be what. it's too big to call it a singular, like, I don't know, for it to have a singular attitude. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to trust them with my gaming heart. Been hurt too many times.
I've been hurt before, GW.
Yes,
um,
I'm a,
we
I'm a
did
bit jaded now.
we did see a question up here. And funny enough, Cosmic, I think they did elaborate on this. I don't know if the video's up on YouTube publicly yet, but they're asking, how do you guys come up with with your battlefield concepts, like the Leviathan in the underwater episode?
Oh, well, we knew we
Not
wanted
to
to make.
like immediately like divert back to questions, but like I was like, Cosmic asked a question. I'll eventually get to that, but but our
Let's
conversation
answer
kept going. I'm like,
this
I can't forget
question.
Cosmic twice.
Cool. Um, no, the Leviathan was part of the idea for that underwater battle from the get. So we had this piece of lore that Nick had for that underwater battle,
Mm-hmm.
and we um, were discussing as a team how to bring that to life, what was important about um, that we could do that would read as underwater, because I felt like it was going to be really difficult for the whole thing to like feel like it was underwater, especially when there was going to be space wolves involved, which I knew were not going to be like all helmeted, let alone be riding wolves. Anyway, so we had some discussions about how to like make the setting feel underwater so that we could have that sort of read. So we had a lot of different ideas, and one of them was to include kind of fun rules and environment pieces that would remind everybody that the whole thing was underwater. So one of the very first things we thought about was a big shark that was going to run around and eat people. And Nick printed off a beautiful dinosaur model, and I took it home and played with some new makeup brushes to do some dry brushing on it. And that's what came out. It was, I don't know. I think that paint job happened in about an hour. It was. I love natural work because you don't have to get too complex. You can kind of just take a tonal approach and
Well, that's the beauty of nature. Nature is like the opposite of perfect. So you
yeah,
get to do
exactly.
whatever you want and just be like, okay, no, it's just like that. Oh, that dark
Yeah.
patch, it's diseased. Move on.
The longest part of actually that thing was fixing the seams in the 3D print because it was didn't flush make
Gotcha.
the purple. Um, yeah, actually working with 3D printed models is interesting. I can't use my clippers like I like to, so I end up
That is
shattering models all over the place.
That's yeah, that's exactly like I went to not it's same thing. Like I'm so used to being like, oh, I don't like this part, snip it off and then do something different with it. But I was working with these
Yep,
shields that I had gotten, and I don't even think they were no, they were 3D printed, but they were plastic, not resin.
right.
And I
I
went
like
to
the new
snip.
PVC printings; those are cool.
Say again.
The new PVC printers. There's lots of cool printers on the horizon.
Okay, cool. Because I know of FDM and I know
Yep,
resin.
yep.
What is this third one? Or is that third one like a one of these
I
other two?
I might be listening. I know there's other materials being used to make models. To be honest, I don't know if it's the 3D printing method. I am not on the cutting edge of 3D printing anything, so I don't want to tell people about something that doesn't exist. But I do know there's some other materials being used to make models now. We were literally throwing around some models from Creature Caster recently at the studio to
Like,
test their durability.
oh,
And
literally. Okay, I was just about like you're joking, right? Like literally
oh no,
throwing, but now you're actually okay. Holy
oh yeah,
crap.
we were like, fling, where did it end up? Is his axe still attached? You know what I mean? Like, and these were delicate looking models. Like we're talking with like, spindly weapons at odd angles and stuff. It wasn't like a nice compact dwarf leaning on his battle axe or anything. Um, yeah, they could take some serious punishment before they came apart, which is not, standard.
No, not at
That's
all.
a new product that they're using, but I don't think it's actually 3D printed. So now that I think about it, I probably misspoke in terms of which part of it. But I do know that there's lots of really cool, affordable really high definition resin printers happening, and yeah, we want to be more involved with that. We love the cool, unique stuff that you can pull off with those tools, and
Well, like
being
those
parts.
propellers for the jetpacks, like
Right.
on like the fact that someone's just like, oh, you're doing an underwater thing. I made these for you, Nick, and they're
Yeah.
perfectly sized to fit onto your guys. Just here you go. Here's some
Well,
props.
it wasn't quite that simple. I think him and Nick had came together and worked together pretty technically to make that thing happen. But yeah, no, that was a pretty cool part of that underwater thing. It's another like layer of detail to try and make the whole experience feel like it was underwater. So
And
that's also part of it.
Malatri says the new projector tech printers too. No idea what
Mm,
that means, but Mala here actually designed some rhino themed weaponry
mm.
for my custom Space Marine chapter.
The Rhino
And
Marines,
yeah, the cosmic rhinos. Uh,
Cosmic Rhinos.
yeah, we have
Are they gonna be purple?
they're actually we'll go back to our little top down view for a second here so I can show you. We've
Oh,
got
you've already got the whole lore and color scheme
oh,
set.
I've written, if you want, I'll send you the Google Doc. There's like
Oh
four
yeah,
pages
for
of
sure.
lore. But this is our chief librarian. This is also the very first model I ever did any sort of modification to. I used paper clips to
Okay,
like do this like energy and stuff. We have custom
great,
transfers, but the color that really defines them is this color shift paint from Turbo Dork to kind
fun.
of give you that spacey vibe.
Yeah,
And
Cosmic Rhino, love it.
so this one was the first like green stuffed horn I'd ever done, but after that, someone found a super cool uh like modeled helmet that had a rhino horn on it.
Oh, awesome.
So we just printed an absolute ton of them and just put them on
That's rad.
everybody. So
That's so sweet.
this is what a regular marine looks like.
I can't
And
wait to see the whole army.
folks get to if they subscribe to the channel for 6 months, I print a nameplate for them and put it on a model of their choice as long as it doesn't already have a nameplate on it. So that's
Fun.
how you end up with Eradicator Hoopla and
Hoopla.
Outrider Sergeant Roger or Outrider Sergeant Atomic Walrus. It's
Sweet.
it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to like, because I do like, I didn't ever think it would be with you guys, but I did think that I would eventually be starting to record battle reports in
Yeah.
my own small way. But it would be so cool to have people watching it live and be like, "Oh, that's my model. I'm right there. I'm on the table," and
Hell yeah.
and they can like cheer for themselves in a very like self-aggrandizing, like "Go me, roll well me," and
So it's got to
people
cost
seem to
double
like
for
it.
the Rhino, the actual Rhino nameplates, right? Or is this all Primaris Marines?
They're all Primaris.
Uh,
People love to point out, they're like, "How many rhinos do you have in this army?" I'm like, none.
you know what you should
But
do is
we are
have a
getting a
fleet of
Thunderhawk gunship.
rhinos. Oh, okay, you can have a fleet of rhinos that like drag the display board into.
I am working on this though. This is going to be a um what's the tank?
Oh,
Um
should be a dreadnought.
it was going to be what kind of tank is this? It's the impulsor repulsor executioner. That was it. This was going to be a proxy for a repulsor executioner.
But you should be able to use that horn in hand-to-hand combat. That thing's a Redemptor dreadnought if I ever saw one.
Yes, repulsor. Yes, Malum. But the thing is that it came with. I had no intention of using it like this initially, but it comes with a actually 100 millimeter base, so it was perfectly sized to be a tank.
Okay.
So I was thinking of just like mounting like all kinds of insane guns on top of this thing. We're gonna run some cabling from the cogitators up here down into the side of the rhino's head, so it controls the guns. And then we're gonna
It's gonna be
put like a
amazing.
reaver or somebody like kind of hanging off the side, firing a pistol.
I still want to vote for him being able to use that horn in combat and turn him into a dreadnought.
That could be, I mean, that could be a fun little house rule. I really, 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 really look forward to being able to use these open war cards and
Oh yeah,
playing open war games, because like that's actually, those cards remind me, you guys managed to do this incredible mesh of the open war style format with a matched play format. It's almost like it's its own unique thing, because you take the narrative side of open war, but you still put in like, you put in goofy stuff, but you balance it in some way, even in a little way. To the untrained individual, it looks like you don't unnecessarily give an over the top advantage to one side unless it's specifically to fit that narrative. Like Nid's having a bajillion guys that can just like walk onto the board over and over and over again in one particular matchup. But the Space Marines had things to kind of counterbalance that.
we try, to be perfectly honest. In retrospect, we feel internally like we fail a fair bit. Um, yeah, no, I mean, the Maelstrom stuff is super random, which can be a lot of fun, especially in house games. Sometimes random is the bane of what we want to bring in terms of like a, a taut, interesting experience. Because if you just keep on drawing Maelstrom objectives that happen to be under the enemy's feet as opposed to your own, you kind of just lose. Um, but that could be fun too. We struggle with like how to create um, interesting, fun, new ideas and keep things fresh and still honor the game of Warhammer. It's a dance. It's different every game. Um, and we try and tailor the game like that we play to the players in them. It's supposed to be fun. So what do the people want to do? Some people want to play huge, grand, like goofy narrative apocalypse games. Other people want super tight, competitive experiences, and we try and show off the fun of all those different things because it's a huge spectrum. And some people really can play anywhere on it, and other people get stuck on one end of it. So,
Yeah, looking at you, Gear Guts Mech Shop, with your 150,000 points of orcs and your 2-day apocalypse game. Oh my
that sounds
god.
intense.
The fact that that whole orc army was his, and he just needed other people to man it for him or with him against like
I,
10 other people's whole armies.
I'm a guest mech boy in a couple of orc armies, so yeah.
And speaking of orcs, I'm actually going to be doing my very first orc model here soon.
Ooh,
I came up with the idea of a squig, not a squig, a grot war boss. His name is Nom,
okay.
Nom, the grot, and his loyal squig, Jave, not Jeff,
Okay.
Jave, and
Okay.
it's going to be a grot that's like barely hanging on to like a bridle type setup on a squig that's like just bounding along, big like tongue like flopping out, and he's like barely hanging on, just getting whipped around. And we're gonna put like a really ramshackle king's crown on him.
Fun.
It'll be fun, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, because I'm definitely not gonna do an orc army.
Okay. You never
But
know. Never say never.
okay, for the foreseeable future, because like all of next year is going to be this. Like if we can finish, I really do think I can actually do this entire Gene Stealer cult army, about 3,000 points. I think I can get that done by the end of the year.
Right.
So if I get Gene Stealer cults done by the end of the year, then I'm ready quarter 1 for the new Dominion or the old Dominion army to come out for conquest. So I'll paint my first conquest army, have that done
Nice.
by March, and then in for the rest of the year, it'll be like kind of watching what happens. If the rumors are to be believed, like there's going to be a ton of cool stuff coming out for Chaos, and then I'm going to do a Chaos army. After that, who
Oh.
knows?
You have your roadmap ahead of you. It sounds like a heck of a pace, I gotta say.
We're at if we get the Gene Stealer Cult army done before the end of the year, we will have done 5 armies in a year.
That's incredibly impressive.
All
I,
up to this point, all of them well over 2,000 points. One of
and
them I
is
never even
this
played. I painted it. It wasn't base, so I guess in that way it wasn't a completely done army, but the guy who traded it with me for a bunch of nuance sprue custodes, which became my custodes army.
right?
He specifically did not want them based because he likes basing. So
Ah,
he wanted
cool.
to do the basing himself. I'm like, hooray, we both win. But I've done Space Marines, Necrons, the Custodes, Sisters, which I can't believe I
Cool.
did that Sisters army in like 9 weeks.
Yeah, that was
And
fast. Especially the amount of extra work you put into those.
yeah, there's aside from the Repentia and Morven Vol, and I guess the Rhinos, because I just painted them differently. Aside from
Right.
those four examples, everything has been modified in some way.
Right.
Most of the time, significantly.
Yes. Yes. Extensively. Yeah. No, I can't wait to see those in action personally. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
And
Well, that's a huge pace, man. Like, I guess this is trying to show off your chops for really diving into the pro paint thing.
I
Is that
I
why you're moving so fast? Like,
I just love it.
well,
Every
that's
time I
good to
come
hear.
up with an idea, I'm just like, I need to make this happen. I
Let's
need to
make it
do
happen.
this. Like, cause like the Gene Stealer cults, the fact that I'm like, what am I gonna do with this army? Like,
Ah,
I don't know what I'm gonna color them. Normally, with every one of my personal projects, I have a theme. I have a thing that I'm trying to accomplish with them.
right.
And then it hit me because Dune comes out in 6 days. Not that I'm counting. Dune comes out in 6 days. It is my like I literally have the book right here.
Oh yeah.
I have my gold foil paged copy of Dune right here,
Oh, favorite.
and I was like, wait a minute, Gene Stealer cult, Fremen. Ooh,
Oh, so you're going with the locals.
yes. So my Gene Stealer cult are going to be Fremen. That's why all of the Brood Brothers have cloaks, because I really like the aesthetic that I've seen in the trailers for the new film.
Right.
That like kind of blue gray for the still suits, and then they have those like more deserty camo cloaks. And then I'm
Mhm.
going to put them on really red sanded bases so they stand out.
Awesome.
And I think I'll only do it for the Brood Brothers because the more mutated they get, like the less I feel they would be inclined to like hide or be more sneaky. So I'll still do the still suits, but I won't give them cloaks. But the bikers are all going to have cloaks. My characters are probably going to have them, and I'm going to do a patriarch that is the God Emperor Atreides of Dune. So I'm going to do a giant sandworm with like a human face, and it's going to be all
Oh
terrifying.
wow, that sounds really terrifying. I was thinking you'd do a sandworm Goliath truck.
Or that. I could do sandworms for all sorts of stuff, but the
Yeah.
idea of like the patriarch like kind of like coming up out of the ground and having his hands like this is gonna be kind of like creepy and fun. And yes, Tin Blade, it is a Tycho. I keep pointing in the wrong direction. This is Tycho, and he's here with me because he had nothing better to do.
But yeah, it's true. I did not
See,
have anything
see,
better to do. Yeah.
he's honest about it. But yes, the Thunderhawk gunship, I will agree that is something that will be done quarter 1, or at least as soon as I have it. I really
You
don't
actually
anticipate.
bought it already?
Um, I mm.
Printing it.
We had, yes, we're printing it.
Ah,
A friend of mine. I was saying like if we hit some sort of down the line, if we hit some sort of insane subscriber count goal or something on Twitch or Patreon or whatever, I would I would buy something big, and we were trying to figure out what big thing to buy. Like I looked
hmm.
at the Astraeus and I'm like, this thing's
That's a big thing to
terrible.
buy.
It
It's
looks
great.
so cool, but it's terrible.
Really?
I
Pat
don't.
likes it.
Yeah, and Shukin very generously started throwing tips at me. So the we had the money to afford the resin to 3D print a Thunderhawk because my friend who also sponsors the channel has a like 3D printer bank. And he
Nice.
was like, "Oh yeah, just cover the resin. I'll print that for you. It'll take forever, but we'll print it up."
That's sweet.
But yeah, that'll save me $900. And
It'll cost the same amount or more in time and sweat and
Oh,
cetera.
well, I mean, with my airbrush, I should be, especially because luckily for me, the Cosmic Rhino's paint scheme is stupid simple.
Yeah.
Uh, it's black and then a Turbo Dork paint, which airbrushes really, really well. So
Yeah.
I'll do the Turbo Dork bits first, a little bit more careful with the black, and then it's just going to be going in and doing some like dry brushing with silver to dust it up a little bit of OSL, make the guns look really nice, and then it's going to be good to go. And
Awesome.
the fact that we had it elaborated to me because I had no idea how it worked, that certain models of certain size count as like X for the 30 troop carry size that it can hold of like regular firstborn Marines, but like a Gravis Marine counts as like 3 spots, or a tank counts as one like whole transport capacity.
So
So
there's actually rules for Primaris Marines to ride in a Thunderhawk?
yes, there are rules for them to be able to ride in a. That's the only reason why I'm doing it, is because I could put Primaris Marines in it. So it's going to
Interesting.
be put all 9 of my aggressors in there, fly them to the
That's
enemy's
unique.
backline, and just drop them.
That's unique in the rules right now, isn't it?
At least as far as I was told by folks.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly blunt, I don't think there are serious rules for a Thunderhawk for Warhammer 40,000, so you should do whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, it's true, because it's not exactly like you're seeing like, oh, and looks like John Lennon has yet again won the Lone Star Open with a double Thunderhawk list. Like no one plays them.
That would be a 5,000 point list.
Oh, that's a good point. But I love
I
the idea of just
think
having this thing go screaming in over the top of the battle lines and just drop some of, because my Cosmic Rhinos are a Salamander's successor chapter, so I get access to all the Salamander strats.
for years I played Blood Angels, and my favorite piece to play with to this day in Space Marines is the Storm Raven, and it has all the I'm going to drop all sorts of fun stuff in your back line. The only problem is it's pretty paper thin on the ground, but for actual gameplay, especially since a Thunderhawk would definitely need an escort, you should do a beautiful Turbo Dork Storm Raven.
I might have to get a Storm Raven then, guys.
You never know. Never know. I think it would look great in the. Oh, we could even do the whole thing cosmic.
See,
The Nebula book
hold on.
scheme.
How much paint do I have?
How much paint?
I think this, like what I have in this bottle, might be enough to do the entire Thunderhawk gunship in color shifting paint, which is just going to be like, if you want to talk a distraction Carnifex, you got to model that big, and then you make it this shiny. Like they're not going to be looking anywhere else.
Yeah, get some hot pink OSL and really set it off.
Oh, I got that too.
Sweet.
The guy who, like I said, the guy who sponsors my my stream, he's a local guy to me, and he makes his own paint line. And
wow,
yeah,
that's interesting.
And yeah, it's really good stuff. I mean, it's not everyone loves that I shill like all the time, mostly for the humor of it, but it is a really good paint line. It's one of the things I started using right when I started painting. But it's a semi-transparent paint that you can use like right out of the bottle. There's no thinning or mixing.
I love my transparent paints.
Works great in an airbrush. But yeah, the fluorescent line that he just came out with, he's got 4 colors. There's going to be a 5th soon. All of them are unbelievable. And the pink specifically, he does a forever, as long as he makes the paint, a portion of that sale will always go to cancer research, because a friend of his lost someone near to them while he was manufacturing this paint to cancer. So he was like, I got you. We're gonna in this person's name, we're gonna donate a bunch of money for like the lifetime of this paint production. He loves this community so much. I swear that guy, if myself and other people did not yell at him to stop giving away things, he would go out of business and he'd be happy about it.
Well, let's try and keep him in business, and yeah.
I'll if I remember to, I'll scrape together a few of the extra bottles that I have just to give to you or the rest of the team to try out. By no means is it a expectation to like, like hold up the paint on stream and be like, "Hi, I'm Tycho Imiga, and this is my favorite paint on the Citadel," which is hilarious because
Well,
Citadel is a paint brand. But
Miguel is a paint brand, which I actually own some paints from. We also at this point,
Vallejo's your sponsor,
we do have a paint sponsor, so that's
which
a
seeing that
thing.
giant paint rack behind you, I got so jealous. I was just like,
that's that's still something that makes us kind of giggle when we see it. I was yeah, that was an impressive pickup. We have good people in the team working hard to find good sponsors. It's not easy. Like that was the unicorn paid sponsor.
Thunderhead Studios said that screaming over the lines translates to hold on a second while I awkwardly position this giant brick. Which, yeah, like aren't Thunderhawk, like, I mean, to use my head as scale, they're like this big, right? Like the
I'm,
size of a loaf of bread.
I'm much bigger.
Oh, oh, goody. I can now,
Much bigger.
I'm starting to understand between like Thunderhawk gunships, the fact that board sizes are smaller now. So things like Thunderhawks and then those pieces of terrain, like the Sisters piece of terrain, or the Necrons, or even the Death Guard ones, they're so hard to place because they have to be a certain distance away from everything else and your opponent's lines that you don't even get to put them in anywhere in a space that's any good.
uh, or even legally place them at all. There's some they're awkward, clunky rules that are not meant to be used. I think along with the Thunderhawk rules. The Thunderhawk model, as far as I understand, is probably about a meter long. The reason I mentioned that it would be difficult or expensive to model to be hobby with is not the painting. The painting's easy. The assembly of the damn thing and having it not just come apart on you when you try to do anything with it.
That's why the guy who's 3D printing it for me, I hope to God he just assembles it as he goes.
That would be one way to go. I don't know how you'd ship it then.
Oh,
It's gonna be
like I said, he's local. He's like 10 minutes down the road. I just
still
meet
the
him at the
back of a
local
truck
game
is
shop
going to
and
be
pick it up.
getting it from wherever it is into a truck or anywhere is going to be a challenge. It's an immense model. The one I've seen. Um, yeah, it's going to be a project. You're going to have a blast with it, and it's going to be an engineering project to make it all. Just have the wings stay on while you hold it from the body. I think is one of the first challenges would be what I'd expect.
When in
But
doubt, super glue. It's like, oh, guys, you'll be so impressed. This is my Thunderhawk gunship. It's 75% super glue.
oh, that groups it together.
So, I don't want to keep you forever. I mean, I'm loving chatting with you, and I probably would do it for the rest of the day. But one last ask of chat while we start to wrap up. Are there any other questions that you guys have for Tycho, be it for anything that he's personally doing, anything that he can talk about that Playon's doing? And of course, before we end, Tycho, I'm going to ask you to shamelessly plug everything you guys do. And I mean, like, I want you to like shill like these people are like about to
Not my
literally
forte.
throw money at you.
No. uh, okay. In terms of like what we're doing coming up to shill.
Yes, and while you think about that, Thunderhead, we actually were talking about Conquest earlier before you got here. But yeah, what's the scoop? They're doing it. You guys have an official partnership sort of thing with Parabellum, correct?
Yep, we are we are working with them to make a series, a whole series. So that's going to be coming out monthly starting later this month. So the first one is very nearly done. I was worried I was going to have to come into work this weekend to finish it off, but I'm really hoping that isn't going to be the case. So yeah, I've been pedal to the metal on that. We've been shooting more for more of those games, and that's going to be coming up very, very soon as something new. In the new year, we have some other games coming down the pipe. I'm not exactly sure what I'm allowed to say though. I know more than I know I'm allowed to say, but yeah, we have some really high hopes to bring some historical gaming onto the channel. Um, so that is definitely something to look forward to. Some World War II action,
I
which
have
should be fun.
guesses, but I won't say.
Yeah,
because I don't want
there's
to
a few
embarrass myself.
candidates, but
See,
you
and
want
this
to
is why
show
you catch these streams, people, because this is the kind of place where you're going to get this information. Because Lord knows I'm not going to remember it after this, which is probably a good thing. But Altier asks,
and,
art critique vids when? I'm gonna make an assumption that like the whole idea of critiquing, like if you had like a hey fans submit your art and we can sit here and talk about it, it's from a streaming perspective, I always feel really nervous unless someone explicitly tells me like if I do something that you don't think is good, rip it apart. But art is such a subjective thing that I'm terrified to critique someone's stuff, and especially to do it like on the YouTube level. Like there's a guy who he's a tattoo artist at the shop I go to. He did a thing where he would have artists and people submit their tattoos for him to like talk about like, hey, this technique here is something that you can, and it was a genuine critique. Like he talked about what he liked and then he talked about what he didn't like, but at the end, as a joke, a genuine just for fun joke, not trying to belittle anybody, he would have the top tattoo of the week and the toilet tattoo of the week.
I
And
think I've seen this guy's videos.
Pony Lawson,
Yeah,
yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
cool.
He's
Yeah, I
an
know. I've
unbelievable
definitely seen this
artist.
too. And he does some actually pretty decent YouTube videos too.
Yeah, his he just exploded onto it with his he has a very good style for how his videos are done.
Yeah, he's a good presenter as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's just like that in the shop. Oh, I think I might need to have that conversation with him when I finally get up to the shop, because another guy at the shop, Gary Parisi, like the guy who's gonna fix this up, he did my giant dragon cover up chess piece.
Wow.
And that hurt, but he is like his chair is right next to Pony's, and I did think about doing a model for both of them because Pony is a huge like old video game nerd. So like I would love to get like a Mega Man model and paint up a Mega Man model for him. And Gary is huge into horror, so I'd do like a zombie thing for him.
Cool.
But I gotta add that to the list of projects. But anyway, to bring it all the way back around, the idea from my perspective, as I assume you guys have probably thought about, the potential for people being willing to put their stuff out there is hard enough for some folks to have it looked at and appraised and even critiqued. Even if you know you're like, Tycho, please critique my work. You want Tycho's input. You're going to get other people's input. You know you're going to go like read through the comments and you're going to see like, oh my God, that Tau at 36 minutes and 11 seconds. Who the hell painted that? That thing is a piece of garbage. And you're like, that's my Tau. It's not what I think a lot of people are looking for, but that's my opinion. So Tycho, answer his question. Critiques when?
Yeah, I sometimes quite enjoy watching critique. Doing critique is an art form unto itself. Like it's the best critiques are able to show you where where you can improve without making you not feel like doing it again, right?
Well, it's one of the first things you learn from, and like Tycho, you in college did art as well, correct?
I did drop out of art college. Yeah.
So I don't know about how long you may have done this particular thing, but we learned in several classes about like art professionalism, how to do critiques. And one of the first things we learned is, as an artist, having your own stuff critiqued, is you have to be able to divorce your value of yourself as a person from your artwork.
But that's not who art anymore, because art always comes from inside, and that's anyway, it's hard.
Exactly. And that's why it's so difficult, because you do put a lot of yourself into the art, but when someone critiques the work, especially if it's a genuine critique of the piece and they're not just saying, I hate it, and you're like, why? And you're like, I just don't like it. Like, that's not productive and that's just hurtful. And that's one of the other things we learned. But or to spin something you're not.
Just an opinion.
Exactly. But the problem is when you can't divorce. Like if I said, hey, Tycho, I love this piece. I just think you could be a little cleaner with your edge highlights. Or this piece looks great. I just wish the lighting was a little bit better. That is not necessarily an attack on you as a person, but someone who is not necessarily prepared for that might take it as a personal insult. Like that I'm like saying like you as an artist are terrible because this thing isn't good.
Right.
Even if it was
Or
obviously not
is it
intended that way.
to some standard that you're discussing? Like, uh, yeah. I think that's the other part is like there's no such thing as good and bad in critique either. You're saying that like this aspect could be changed in this way to provide to make this difference, and if that's something you're looking for, it might be useful to you. But yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know if I'm very good at critique either, because a lot of times I look at something and I can't articulate immediately exactly why I, like one thing over another. That's often a very, that oriented like thing. I'm also not a particularly technical like painter. I paint a lot by feel. I paint a lot by how I want to do it then. And I've stomached a lot of harsh critiques, but I don't know. It feels like a whole section of the art world that it never really resonated with me. The kind of like um, trying to pick something apart and quantify it and make it good or bad wasn't something. We're trying to
And
have fun.
and Thunderhead pointed out that you have to say that because he does as part of his streams, because he's another streamer, that he does a thing where people submit work, so many pictures of their work, and then at the end of the stream he goes through everything and says like, I like what you're doing here, like this is cool, hey, like here's a thought for this. Like he's really good at it. And I
Right.
like the way he approaches it. One, you do want to do like the compliment sandwich, find something you like, talk about something that could be improved, and then compliment something else. That's always a nice approach.
Yep. Yep.
The other thing is that always phrase things like if you were trying to approach doing OSL and you don't have an airbrush or you're just trying to like paint it on or glaze it on, and your approach is a little bit heavy-handed. I'd say like, hey, I see you're going for OSL. Have you tried doing this? It might give you
Yep.
what more of what you're looking for. Framing it like that as opposed to like an accusation, like you said, it's an art form unto itself. Like you're mixing understanding of art and talking to people in a way to not hurt their feelings, which I mean one of these is already hard enough.
To
But
provide somebody with useful information, right?
yeah,
Like that.
that too.
So like it takes a lot of technical acumen to be able to um, provide useful critique. You need to know what the hell you're talking about before it's easy to be like, oh, I see what you're attempting. I can see where your technique did not meet up to your attempt, and what differences could be taken to solve that problem. All of those are very technical things if it's done properly, right? You can describe to somebody 1,000 times how to edge highlight properly. It's a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? Um,
That's why
so
I don't do it.
yeah.
I just dry brush the edges.
I saw with your Space Wolf stuff. You've been working on your edge highlighting. The Space
Yeah,
Wolf model for TAC. That was in particular. There's some edge highlighting on that model.
there
And
is.
and you know what? Dry brushing onto an edge is an edge highlight and actually an effective way to make it not have a totally stark line. I've been getting into using translucent white inks to do edge highlighting because then I can do an edge highlight that shows the color underneath. It blends a little easier. It makes it so it's not as stark as just using a totally separate color. So essentially, it's mixing color without actually mixing two colors together. You're just using a glazing highlight as opposed to a full highlight. Lots of ways to skin those
But yeah,
guys.
you're absolutely ink. Oh my
Sorry?
god, I love ink. I love it so
Yeah,
much,
ink fun.
especially for OSL. The
Yep.
technique I employ that I was taught. You spray white, spray your color like a little bit towards the edges of that, so that you have the white hot where the light's coming from, and so you have your source. That's it. That's all it is, and you're done. You might go in and add a few like hard edged white lines, but that's it.
And one little final spritz of white in the center of its source can be
That too.
final
I tend to go back and
final
forth
touch.
exactly like that. Like I do my white,
Exactly.
do the orange for like the custodies, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
I put a little too much orange, and then like a quick spritz of white, and we're good.
Yeah. The little finishing airbrush highlights, which I think are so sexy. It's a really wonderful way to paint models because it's fast, it's easy, it blends perfectly every time until you start spattering out of a broken airbrush
Oh,
because
I've gotten
yeah,
lucky so far. Even though I use a $24 airbrush, it's been doing really well for me.
I totally agree that you don't need to spend a lot to have effective airbrush use.
Just clean it. Just clean it. 5 seconds of cleaning. I run like the Vallejo airbrush cleaner.
Yeah,
I wipe it out. I spray a little bit of water to get the what remains of the dregs of paint out. Then it's
yeah.
cleaner, water, or water, cleaner, water, and I just wiggle the trigger back and forth while I'm doing it so that it just kind of
Yep.
agitates it with the needle. That's it. Sometimes you got to take it apart and do a little bit of a needle wipe down, but it's not as hard as people might believe it to be.
Well, and you're gonna have different results with different brushes at different times. I don't know. I go through brushes, I guess. I also am working often in a bigger scale too. When you're painting terrain, it can be a different beast in terms of how much paint you're having to push through a particular brush.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like once you start getting into terrain, you stop using a size 6 and you start using a 2-inch chip brush.
Well, I use house painting brushes in a lot of my terrain, but there's also a certain point where we are under time crunches and using the tools we have at hand, right?
Mhm.
Like that's often how we are putting our shows together because it's it's a lot to make it all happen, and we are not perfect planners.
And we do have a lot of, and I mean, like with your guys' planning, even if it may not be perfect, boy, howdy, the ideas you come up with, even the apparent imperfect ones, are absolutely astonishing and so unique. Like you got, like Nick plucked that one piece of lore for such an interesting like setting for a battle report, and you guys have done that time and time again. Like so many people have done the Battle of Ultramar between Nids and Ultramarines, but the way you guys approached it, wholly unique. So,
Thank you.
and I'm really excited for whatever you guys come up with for when I'm on the show. And
It'll be fun.
in addition to whatever ends up happening on the stream, like essentially the whole time I'm there, I know I'm there for videos. That's about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. We actually should talk about specifics, especially around the idea you had for the hobby video.
Yes. That's
So
that, and how much of that can I mention? I
much as you like.
we're gonna shoot
Um,
3 videos now. We got the army showcase, we got a 40K in 40 minutes, and then Tycho here has asked me to do a little
well, I
bit
would
for
love to
a
collaborate with you on a conversion video. So we need to talk about what's going to take to shoot that because, to be perfectly blunt, a 40K and 40M and an army showcase in one afternoon is stretching the
oh
limits
yeah.
already of what is going to
Well,
be possible.
at the
So
very least, if there's like if there was only one part of that video that you wanted me to shoot, we can, before we start shooting anything, we shoot the very first thing of, hey guys, I'm going to show you how to make a cape out of green stuff. First thing you do, you make a thing of green stuff, mix it up, roll it out in a roughly triangular
yeah,
shape, and then you leave it,
let's
and then we
talk.
leave it and go shoot other stuff.
The problem is it's a totally different camera setup.
Oh, that is a good point. See, like this is the reason why you are pro, me simple boy.
I
Because I'm like, oh, it's so easy.
I
We
was
just
on
shoot this and then
board with
shoot
your
this.
idea. Let's just shoot it all in one day. And then I was told very clearly by the production team that that's not how things are going to actually go. So we need to
We'll
figure out
figure
how to make
something
it all,
out.
how to fit everything in because we have a lot of great ideas, and ideally we get to them all. We want to do that. We just got to figure out how to make that happen properly. So
Yep, because I mean, I can just keep drinking jasmine tea and I'll go for however long you need me, but I know the human body does have limits. Um,
every so often we do it.
or you could just use the stream time, do the stream, and then just edit that stream down into like a slightly like lower production value video.
That's a possibility.
Because
Yeah,
doesn't YouTube like save the stream natively automatically?
it does. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you're operating on whatever resolution that YouTube records it on, which obviously is going to be less than like the insane resolution that you guys usually record on. But like I said, that's already the trade-off, that in order to do everything you want to do in the allotted time might be a trade-off you might be willing to make.
Well, and to be perfectly blunt, we want to make whatever we do for this video to be play on standard,
That
right?
is okay.
So,
And yep. I guess
uh,
I just tend to assume like, oh, if I'm involved, just lower your standards, move on. But these are you have to hold yourself, like, after I'm gone, people are still going to point at that video being like, why does this one not look like the other ones?
well, and that's been a continual struggle with our channel. Is like we have different skill levels and different approaches and different predilections of what we like to watch ourselves. And Playon has taken on a certain approach and standard that isn't always easy to meet. So, there's a bunch of stuff that we just have never put on the channel because it just didn't meet our group standard. In the group has to be a consensus, otherwise we're not doing it as a team. And so, to be better together and to really present stuff that we're proud of, we want to try and stick to a standard, and that is part of what Play On is about. And so, it's with clear communication, it's all possible. It's just um, making it all come together. And so, yeah, I think we're gonna have to figure out a secondary shoot. I think it won't take too much to figure it out, but yeah.
If you guys come to Adepticon, that's going to solve a lot of problems.
Is it now?
Because one, I'm going to Adepticon, which is already
Okay.
a shoe-in. I already have my hotel room and everything. Two,
Okay.
my friend who did the cinematography for my my trip to the zoo, who, I mean, his
Right.
job is being a cameraman.
Right.
That said, he would, like, if the plan would go the way I'm like formulating in my mind off the top of my head, if he were to be like available to and willing to help with this, being a professional, he would be like, okay, this is how much I would charge for my time and my equipment. But
Right.
I don't know what that rate is, and maybe it's too much, maybe it's enough, whatever you guys feel is worthwhile. But I know someone who would have high quality camera equipment that you could use to record without having to bring all that stuff yourself, or to minimize what you would bring with you.
Right. The we have the equipment. We've found that shooting live at an uncontrolled location, such as a tournament, is a big challenge. We've done
Oh,
it.
I would think like isolated, like we wouldn't shoot live at the event. Like we'd go use a hotel room and like set up sheets and whatnot to like create a
Oh,
set.
oh, interesting. That's a different idea. That's an interesting point.
Because you do like one after, like, I mean, specifically for this video, just do like an afternoon of shooting, and then you have the whole rest of the weekend to, like, if you want to do a vlog style, like, Playon goes to Adepticon, and then you can just like throw something together for a little fun meet and greet with people. Then that's just off and on shooting throughout the weekend, and you can
Well, that
still
would be
enjoy your
fun, and
time
that would
there.
be a totally different beast, and it could be a lot of fun on the sort of live side of things. Um, there's getting it together to go. When exactly is Adepticon this year?
Adepticon is in March.
That's close.
Tickets go on sale soon for the event. They are not on sale yet, which also by extension means they are not sold out.
Right.
And if you don't want to worry about like a hotel room, I already have one. You could use the pull-out couch.
Sweet.
So
Fun.
that'll
Well,
help
that
cut
could
down on
be a lot of
costs.
fun. Yeah, I have to, I have to prove out how long it's going to take me to edit these videos going forward. Actually, go somewhere. I'm signed up for a pretty tight schedule into that period, but that sounds like a blast. So yeah, I'll see what can happen.
And I know that there's all these people, like Cosmic, I know is going to be at Adepticon. He's like Bedfort 40K game. So like, okay, pillow forts plus 40k, I can see that being entertaining.
That could be very entertaining. So
Thunderhead,
you stood
I'm
on a Dark
trying to get
Eldar
him to
model.
go.
Hmm?
I'm trying to get Thunderhead to go.
Okay.
His painting style with the way he does conquest, like he designed his own and 3D prints his own trays for the
Cool.
models to complete with bases that like match into the cobblestone look.
Awesome.
And I'm like, I need those. I need them.
That would make you happy.
Yes, it would. But I think talking about the future and like where this can all go, I think is a great place to leave off. Tycho,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so
Fun.
much
Well,
for
wow.
taking the time to hang out with
That was
me, with chat. I want to record more episodes of this podcast, such as it
fun.
is, but it's mostly Dr. Rhino hangs out with people he thinks are really cool. And
That sounds like a good podcast.
every one I've done, we've done one with a good friend of mine named Duck Guts. We did one with Quipster Nerd from DZTV, and now we've done you. So it's a blast. I can't wait to talk with you again in the future. I know hopefully we're gonna find time this weekend to play another game on TTS.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
And note for everybody, I found out Battlescribe to TTS doesn't exist anymore. But a new system has arisen in its place. It's called Yellow Scribe, and I've used it. It's just as intuitive. You just have to use a different website. Although the models that it pulled in certain situations weren't right, like it copied the wrong model for like a Sister Superior or for like a Dogmata, but all I did was I just went and copied all of the text in the description that, like how you saw, like mine had like across it had the bar of like movement, so on and so on. I just copied all of that and then pasted it into the correct model, and then everything was correct. So
cool.
a little fiddly, but it works. But I can show you how to use that too if need be. But until I was actually just about to start trying to do your outro. Well, until we see Tycho in his grim darkness of his far-flung Canadian future.
My far-flung future.
Play on, everybody.
And thank you, Dr. Rhino. This has been a lot of fun, and yeah, can't wait to have more gaming goodness to come.
Yep. See you, buddy, and bye, everybody. We'll see you all on Monday during the regular stream time. Bye.